It's homecoming in Tulsa, where the Golden Hurricane is hungry for a victory. And so are the visiting UConn Huskies, seeking their first win over FBS competition in a year. It's college football presented by Geico. In the American, the UConn Huskies face the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. And good evening, everybody. John Sadak alongside the Hall of Famer and Randy Cross. Two teams, Randy, on tough times. Each of these squads has lost 12 straight to FBS competition, with UConn expected some with its youth. With Tulsa, bit of a surprise.
It really has been, and especially when you look at the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, you expect their offense to have a lot of points. Well, they've struggled in the fourth quarter, especially closing. But, man, one thing they've done, they've really rallied on the defensive side of the ball.
And their star has been Cooper Edmonston, one tackle shy of 200 on his career. He is the turnover magnet.
No matter where the ball is, if it's an interception of late, he causes a fumble, there's a fumble near him, he gets on it. And you look at that kind of kind, friendly face. Trust us, when you sit down and talk to Cooper, he's a linebacker. He's got that little glint. You know he's going to be able to kind of snap when he has to.
And the man that he'll be hunting for UConn is the versatile quarterback, David Pindell. What he can do with his feet and his arm, make them trouble. And we dive into it with our CDW eye vision.
Yeah, and you know what? The whole offense revolves around Pindell, but when it comes to blocking, you got to look at it two different ways. They love the up-back, the H-backs, and the tight ends. The H-back cleans up with a tight end miss. The tight end gets down the field and gets a piece. Now here, this is classic smash-mouth football. Randy Edsall loves to do this. You've got the up-back. You've got the left side of the offensive line. Bam! That is tough. It is physical, and you could drive a car through that hole.
Temperatures in the 60s, winds in excess of 10 miles an hour. There is a chance for lightning in the area. We have been warned. The head man for the UConn Huskies in the second year of his second stint is Randy Edsall. He took the Huskies from then 1AA in 1999 to a BCS Bowl in 2010. Philip Montgomery for Tulsa, he's in year number 4, and he says his team is better than the record shows. He said we have to get over the hump, and we need some late game energy. Well, Tulsa won the toss and deferred, so UConn will have the ball.
No mystery what UConn wants to do. Randy Edsall would love to be physical, love to run it, love time of possession and the running stats to be on his side of the ledger.
So the ball booted. And UConn will take a knee as we take a look at our Chick-fil-A starting lineups. And as mentioned, the quarterback for the UConn Huskies is the electric David Pindell, the third best rushing quarterback by yardage in the FBS. He has broken UConn's single-season rushing record by a quarterback already.
When you talk about a guy that can run and pass, earlier in the year they were throwing a lot more often, so he was more of a dual threat. Right now it's a run threat.
Kevin Mensah right into the clutches of Miles Mouton. He'll lose about a yard. The rest of the starters for the UConn offense, the man in the middle up front, Ryan Crozier, their most experienced lineman, a Remington Trophy watch list man.
You really have to give a lot of credit to these guys up front, and Crozier is the guy that calls the signals, calls the defenses, points out the mic, knows the guy that everything spins off of.
He's come back from multiple ACL injuries. Here's Mensah, finds a seam. And he gets ripped down by Bryson Powers, the redshirt freshman, fresh off a career-high 12 tackles. The rest of the defense for the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, look out for Zaven Collins, who's been thrown into the fire thanks to injury. He's been electric the last 3 weeks.
You got to love those freshman linebackers that have the height and the size. He could be a good one.
Split backfield here. Now, UConn told us this week it would like to throw a little bit more. You'll see a lot of 3-man front. 8 men retreating defensively for Tulsa. Swinging out. Kyle Buss. Got the first down. Helped out a play by Powers. And there's a conversion for the Huskies as they throw underneath.
Yeah, good job out on the outside. Chris Ivy Jr. doing his work on the left side of that offensive line. They go out on this screen. It develops early and then really snaps on the outside. That's a play designed to go back inside.
First down and 10, a Huskies team that's lost 5 in a row. On the ground, Mensa gets chipped down after a couple. Trayvon Reeves in there. Now Trayvon Reeves getting more time at the star today, Randy, with Diamond Cannon suffering family tragedy. His grandmother passed away. His family laid her to rest in Champaign, Illinois today
At noon.
And so he is trying to travel here today from Illinois to Tulsa. The hope is that he'll be here to play at some point. Out of the pistol. Mensa. It's knocked down by Bryson Powers. Picks up 5. Let's take a look at your keys to the game, Randy.
Well, so far, UConn's on type. They want to possess the ball, and they want first downs. They want to run the ball a lot. In spots, they'll pass the ball. And on defense, you got to figure out a way to get them behind the sticks and make Pindell beat you throwing the ball.
3rd down and 5. He did it once to convert on 3rd down. The 4 wide look. Pindell, tuck and run. And he's got the first down. Now, he had Xavier Scott wide open with no one around him in the left flat there, Randy, but he still converts.
Yeah, he's going to go look, and then he's going to start thinking about taking care of himself. See, he goes first receiver, second receiver. Now he's gone. As soon as that ball comes down and he stops patting it, he's not going to throw the ball again.
And another tackle there for Cooper Edmiston, who has traversed 200 on his career in the infancy of this game. Bit of a high snap. Tulsa bringing bodies, but a couple of yards there. Bryson Powers able to pop Kevin Mensa.
Not a bad offensive line for UConn. We talked about Crozier. DeGeorge, not bad himself. Leon, Pert at tackle. They can get after people. They can stay on their blocks, which is one of the hallmarks of a quality offensive line, is being able to stay on your blocks.
Now in Tulsa territory, 8th play of the drive. Those blocks hold. Pass. Dangerous one. Incomplete. Zaven Collins able to arrive.
Wow, there's throwing balls into a window, John, and then there's throwing it through half a porthole. There was nothing there. They just fit that ball over the top. Watch the defender's arms come in from the left and from the right. Collins comes in. That's a tight one. Pindell got away with one there. That could have been a tip and a pick the other way.
Tulsa turns you over quite a bit. Only rush 3 here. Pindell, step up. The pirouette. What a hit. Zaven Collins with the wrestling swing down.
Yeah, that's that kind of great movement that you talk to Bill Young, their legendary defensive coordinator. He talks about Collins, 6'4", 250 pounds. And he's corralling a guy that could make a DB miss pretty easily.
The punt time is on. Jarian Anderson lets it bound out of bounds. The ball will be at the 22 for the Golden Hurricane. Tulsa gets its first touch on homecoming after a 26-yard punt. Rain starts to fall here in Tulsa, scoreless between the Golden Hurricane and the Huskies. Driving rain contained UConn last week in a very ground-heavy game against UMass. Time now for the Chick-fil-A starting lineups. Tulsa has the ball for the first time today. And the quarterback for the Golden Hurricane is Seth Boomer, the redshirt freshman who's been challenged his opponents, Houston, USF, Arkansas, Tulane, to begin his college career. If you could. On the ground. Eddie Hahn in there on the stop. The rest of the offense for the Golden Hurricane. Separation at receiver called a key by the head man Philip Montgomery. Justin Hobbs was first team All-League a year ago.
Yeah, he's the guy. If you're going to see the ball get to a wide receiver, I think he's the one that's going to get it.
Shamari Brooks gets it here and loses yardage. Omar Ford got that stop, their second leading tackler. And breaking down the starters for UConn defensively, Kavon Jones, a true freshman who's got high-end ability.
Yeah, he really does. And tackles for loss are something you don't see out of this defense very often. So seeing one this early is a good sign for UConn.
Entered last week, 124th in the country in tackles for loss. Had 8. Part of that, a pouring rain against the Minutemen. Play change here for Boomer. Slot motion. Pocket eroding. Boomer on the boot. Trying to thread the needle to Hobbs. Tight to the sideline. He was doubled incomplete. Darian Beavers gave the driving pressure.
Well, Boomer showing some really good scoots getting out of the pocket. He had great protection. Look at that pocket before it breaks down. He basically escapes as it does and gets a little straight arm to buy himself some extra time. I'm not sure that was a well-advised pass, and it might not have been even better to try to hit Randy Edsall open on the sideline.
He's a quarterback in his day. I'm sure he could go grab the ball. Thomas Bennett. The punt. Kyle Buss. Let's it roll. Wow. And Tulsa in coverage will touch it just north of the 10. We'll step aside. 68-yard punt. UConn back to offense.
College football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Verizon, the unlimited plan you need on the network you deserve. And by Chick-fil-A Nuggets. Tonight is Nugget Night.
The skyline of Tulsa, T-Town. It's homecoming for the Golden Hurricane. David Pindell, his offense backed up after Kyle Buss elected to allow a punt to roll and got what, an extra 20-plus yards there, Randy?
Yeah, it was incredible getting that kind of a great roll against you if you're UConn.
Jay Rose tight end motion. Mensah on the counter has a cut. And he's got the first down, ball free. Tulsa claims the football. McKinley Whitfield pounces. His second fumble recovery of the year after Manny Bunch punches it free.
Yeah, look at Ryan Crozier and company in the inside of this offensive line. Great block by the up back. And then you get the contact that causes the fumble. It was a UConn kind of a run until that non-finish. Mensah gives the ball up. The blow comes in from the outside. Green did a good job in knocking that ball out of there.
Manny Bunch and Allie Green combined on the collision. And Whitfield, the converted former star to strong safety, cleans it up. Shamari Brooks, not a whole lot, only a yard.
You know, this defense, they know how to produce turnovers. And Bill Young, their defensive coordinator, said the one thing he's trying to get them to do on defense, get one of those turnovers for a score. No telling how they'll react. Whether it's an interception or a fumble, get one of those turnovers for a score.
Back to Shamari Brooks. Not a whole lot. Eddie Hahn greets him. I loved our conversations with Bill Young, who's now in his 50th year of coaching, 72 years old. Been a coordinator at Ohio State, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, USC, Miami. Now Boomer under pressure. And the freshman's got it open. Boomer to the pylon.
Uh-oh.
And out of bounds.
Did that
the ball
fumble into the end
loose.
zone and out? That's going to be a touchback, isn't it?
Indeed.
Yep. Oh, Boomer gets a little bit greedy. He's got plenty of room. Put the ball away. He goes to reach. His arm gets hit. The ball's inside the pylon, lands in the end zone, rolls through the end zone. That's a fumble through the end zone, which is a touchback.
And you heard the words of Mike Roach, our referee. That was Eddie Hahn, who flew in there and slapped the ball free from Boomer.
Previous plays under review.
They're going to take another look. Replay man Jack Winter. Fumbles have been an issue. Turnovers, period.
Oh, God,
for the
yes.
Golden Hurricane.
Well, the problem really on that play is he's not protecting the ball. He's reaching out with the ball. And it's never the guy you see. It's always the guy you don't see coming kind of from the blind side, comes in and slaps that ball out. Coyle doing a great job on that play.
Tulsa last year lost 5 fumbles. Had the second fewest turnovers in the American, just 13. This year, if this play stands, that's the 12th fumble lost and the 20th turnover, the most in the conference.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It is a touchback. It'll be UConn's ball. Timeout on the field.
So right after Tulsa turns the Huskies over, return the favor.
And Eddie Hahn, quality work. Comes in, slaps the arm, the momentum of the ball takes it through the back of the end zone. That's great defense. That's bad ball maintenance by Tulsa.
A turnover aside here in Tulsa, a couple of clubs that have lost 12 consecutive games to FBS foes. A scoreless affair. Tulsa turns it over as the quarterback Seth Boomer, with a bunch of space, was thinking end zone. The ball got there. He did not. Went on through for a touchback. The numbers continue to deepen worser for the Golden Hurricane.
Points off turnovers shouldn't be a problem here with this much field to go for UConn, but it's the points you don't score that really hurts, and that was at least a field goal you don't get, if not a touchdown.
Off the play fake, Pindell over the top. Kyle Buss. Manny Bunch won't catch him. 80 yards. Shades of the matchup last year in Connecticut with the 80-yard rainbow TD.
That's one of the things, if you're running a Tampa 2 and you stick your nose too close to the line of scrimmage, if you're the safeties, they can run somebody by you, and Bunch does that. See the safeties react up. Bunch goes straight down the field. Never a doubt, just a matter of whether or not Pindell was going to get him the ball. Buss does a great job.
That's his second touchdown grab of the year. He leads them in yards per grab, a number that'll get buoyed by that rainbow strike. And the turnover results in more points. It pads the numbers against the Golden Hurricane. Huskies the road lead. Mascot trying to get the Golden Hurricane going after a turnover results in points immediately. Golden Hurricane gives it away. UConn in one play goes 80 yards on high. Pindell to Buss, and it's something Randy Edsall talked to us about this week in the wake of only throwing 6 passes, thanks in large part to inclement weather and a loss to UMass. He said we have to throw the ball more and more effectively, and boy, do they do that.
Yeah, they threw for over 300 yards earlier in the year against Rhode Island, but as the opponents have kind of gotten tougher, their production in the passing game has gone down. But man, you get somebody to bite like that on a play action, just a matter of hitting somebody that's wide open for Pindell.
So the JUCO transfer connects. Michael Tarbett handling place kicking and kickoffs today. Clayton Harris, Noah Iden had some duties earlier in the year. They will redshirt the rest of the way. Sam Crawford Jr. will take a chance here. It's worth it. Picks up yards to the 30. As the new college basketball season gets underway, CBS Sports Network sits down with two legendary coaches. Villanova's Jay Wright, Notre Dame's own Muffet McGraw. They relive their 2018 NCAA tournament victories and find out if they think there are more championships in their program's futures. It's 1-1 Monday night, 7 Eastern on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. After a 27-yard kick return, Corey Taylor now in it running back. He gets low, and he picks up about 6. As we take a look at your keys, Randy.
Well, they've got to take advantage. They're playing one of the statistically worst defenses in the country. You've got to go for the stats. You've got to pump out stats and stay on the field. And for UConn, make them turn you the ball over. Already seen that once.
Corey Taylor going for more stats. James Atkins trips him up. Shamari Brooks, Randy, who exploded. His first career start was a career day against the Huskies last year. Did not look very good in the early possession for Tulsa. And that one off target, trying to thread the needle, looking for Keelan Stokes.
We got to remember, too, Shamari Brooks is kind of coming in the process of coming back from a leg injury and just didn't look completely right in his early play. That's why we're seeing Taylor right now. Boomer trying to take this shot, but he benefits from a really nice protection. Just nowhere to go with it down the field.
Taylor only played a couple of games before his own leg injury last year. He runs into a big body. And Santana Sterling holds him to no gain. It does feel some, Randy, like Tulsa wants to get on time pace-wise. When this offense is really clicking, what should we expect?
You should expect a play about every 15 to 17 seconds and a good balance of pass and run. Problem has been they've played so many different quarterbacks, no one's really gotten the feel for the passing game right now. It's the big missing ingredient for Montgomery's offense.
Boomer, the delayed handoff, the draw to Brooks. UConn didn't see it coming. And Brooks, with his shifty moves, wiggles all the way to the 43. Tripped up by O'Neal Robinson, 16 yards.
Yeah, how about the middle of this line that just comes wide open? Watch the inside. You start moving people around. That was a beautiful job inside by Chandler Miller, the center and company. Chandler Miller, number 74. Doesn't look like the biggest guy in the world, but he plays like a big guy.
It's a 5-yard penalty, first down.
So nullify that pass for loss to Keenan Johnson, who was hit by Omar Fort there. Play fake, tip ball, incomplete.
Nice. Darian Beavers gets up and knocks that thing down, gets his hands up and tips it out. If you can't get there, be an obstacle. Beavers is more than an obstacle, he's an obstruction.
Motion from Neff, and another penalty.
Another movement.
False start, offense, number 74. 5-yard penalty, second down.
So Miller again, and this is Tulsa still finding its sea legs some with this tempo. Now, right before Boomer became the starter, flashback to Temple, when Tulsa turned it over 5 times, they ran 107 plays in that game. That's the most by any team in the American in a single game all year.
I mean, that's the kind of pace they want to go at, but if you don't have continuity, especially in your skill positions, you're not going to be able to do that.
And Brooks showing some wiggle. Somehow keeps footing. What a run. Hails from right here in Tulsa. Knocked down by Taj Herring-Wilson.
Well, whatever wasn't looking right in that first possession, Shamari Brooks has got it figured out. Look at the strength he shows in that core. Puts that little kickstand down on the ground and keeps himself up. 17-yard run.
Taylor checks back in. Taylor has nothing. Tyler Coyle, the top tackler for the Huskies, who was the first name that came out of the mouth of Philip Montgomery, head man for Tulsa. We asked who stands out of this defense. He said, man, that safety, Tyler Coyle, really good straight line speed running things down.
He's also really good both in the box and out of the box. And as a safety with these spread style offenses, you've got to be able to be kind of a semi linebacker at times in that box. There's Coyle way up there. So he's gone from the line of scrimmage being that box guy to out of the box.
And Boomer goes down as Darian Beavers gets in for his team-leading fourth sack of the campaign.
Oh, that right side of the offensive line having a little issue. Beavers knocked that ball down as he was being blocked well. He's going to be coming off the top of the screen. He just runs around Willie Wright. Just hand fights him and runs around him. Boomer doesn't have enough time to stand there.
That's not something you'd expect. A Tulsa team that has allowed a slew of sacks on the campaign, 31 now, but UConn 123rd, only 8 sacks all year entering the game. Off the fake, Pindell got a seam on Edmiston and dances out of bounds after picking up 6.
Wow, that's the definition of making something out of nothing. To see him fake that, fakes the ball, and after he fakes the ball, that play is stuffed. Then he just runs to the sidelines and beats him with speed.
Pindell, the quarterback draw, a play that Tulsa said to stay alert for. And they show pressure here.
That fake that time was to Xavier Scott. Running back used to be a wide receiver.
Mensah. It's popped by Bryson Powers. The ball, though, in Tulsa territory. Each team has lost 12 straight games to FBS competition. Tulsa has lost 7 in a row overall. The Huskies 5 straight. And a demoralizing loss against UMass, a former rival in the 1AA Yankee Conference days. A game that UConn led for over 50 minutes.
Still be alert for the draw here. 3rd and 2 regardless. You'd love to get Tulsa to go up the field and give the ball to Mensah underneath.
Pindell, you called it, partner. Out of bounds, Allie Green, the closest man to him. Big scamper for the JUCO transfer.
Yeah, watch the reaction of the defense as they fake the ball to Mensah. Everybody's going this way. Pindell just pulls it out. They're thinking draw or run to the running back. Pindell just pulls it out and goes on a scoop.
17 yards. Pindell 4 runs already. Fakes to Mensah. Pressure coming. Pindell chased by Edmiston. Flag out. Pindell throws it away.
Yeah, that's either a hold or a hands to the face.
Holding. Offense number 65. 10-yard penalty. First down.
It is a hold, and now we send you to New York City, the Best Western update with Brent Silver.
Guys, West Virginia gets a miraculous touchdown to pull to within 1 of Texas with 16 seconds left. They go for 2 in the win, and Will Greer runs it in. 42-41 Mountaineers.
Appreciate it, Brent.
Somebody keep all the sharp objects away from Brian Jones in the studio.
Off the fake, the football's been a sharp object for Pindell. Throws on the run, one-on-one, incomplete. Looking for Hergy Mayala.
Oh, he had Mayala too. Mayala had a step. But running like that, full speed to your right, it's hard to get touch on a pass.
He was matched up with Keanu Neal, the best coverage man-to-man defender in the secondary for Tulsa.
No real sense of urgency to throw it, but he overthrows it by about 5 yards because Mayala, you put it on him, he's got enough of a lead I think he catches that.
He had a career-high 131 yards receiving, including an 80-yard touchdown when these teams met last year. On 2nd and 20, Pindell the draw behind Mensa. Slashes through. Picks up 11. That is a major weapon to the backfield. Manny Bunch, the tackle.
Yeah, that was a great job up front by UConn. Design run, runs inside between the guards, and it is cleared out by UConn. Got Mensa in front of him as a lead blocker. Suddenly Mensa goes from a running back to a fullback.
And the man who went, as you mentioned, from wide receiver to running back, Xavier Scott, is in. Has nearly as many catches as he does runs. UConn, you saw the number, 3 of 4 on 3rd down, and here is Scott. Spins out of the first hit, silenced by a slew of bodies. Diamond Cannon was in there. So Cannon has arrived for Tulsa, and part of that denial.
Yeah, Scott's an interesting player. He's got some wiggle and spin and run to him. Now, he's not used to the contact, so he's got to be told, I would imagine, on a daily, if not hourly basis to protect the ball.
Well, Michael Tarbett, a 44-yard field goal try. He's converted from as long as 53. That was at Cincinnati last year. Play clock at 2. And they don't get it off. Timeout.
UConn takes its first timeout of the half. It'll be a full timeout.
Now UConn will talk it over. Do they go for it? Do they kick? UConn leads 7-0. The Huskies had set up for a 44-yard field goal try, had the ball seemingly set, Randy, for a good 10 seconds, and then called timeout as the play clock was about to expire.
It looked like Randy Edsall wanted to make that call because they didn't look like they were in any particular hurry to snap the ball.
And Tarbett has connected from as long as 44 this year, hit from 53 last year at Cincinnati. This is a 44-yard attempt. Brett Graham, the holder. Brian Keating, placed on scholarship this year, the snapper. And Tarbett's kick is good.
Tell you one thing, Tulsa was in safe defense. They had 3 guys off the ball, so they were ready for a fake in case that timeout meant they were going to try something off there. But Tarbett just nails that thing.
And so Michael Tarbett drills it. Caps off a 7-play, 30-yard drive that took nearly 4 minutes. You know, Tarbett's got a really healthy leg, Randy. In his high school days, he connected from 60, the second longest field goal made in the state of New York's football history. Randy Edsall told us that he might go for it as long as somewhere in the low to mid 50s kick-wise, depending upon the winds, which here in Oklahoma can vary.
Yeah, you can have winds. It's actually rather calm, almost nothing, dead day. Of course, if some of this weather they say was supposed to come through here comes through here, that'll change fast.
Randy Edsall sees his Huskies in front by a couple of scores. Last year in this meeting, UConn sprinted out to a 20-0 lead and then held on for dear life.
Well, they've already generated 162 yards offense, and this is not a team that has been a real juggernaut on the offensive side in the last month and a half.
David Pindell has been at the fore of that. Sam Crawford Jr. awkwardly sees it bound, now picks it up, goes in and out of the end zone. Now remember, in college football this year, if you're inside of your own 25, you can call for a fair catch. Here's word.
The ball hit in the end zone without being touched by the kicking team player, therefore it is a touchback.
Let's take a look. He came awfully close to this.
He does not have to wave a touchback if the ball hits in the end zone. He misses it, does not touch it. Second bounce, there it is in the end zone. That's a touchback. Indecision is not good in that job because you got people that have been running from about 60 yards full speed coming at you.
And now we've seen that on each side. Remember, it was the indecision for UConn on punt return that pinned the Huskies deep. Didn't wind up burning them in the long run, but made for an uglier start. Now, Seth Boomer nearly paid off after Tulsa turned UConn over in that series with a would-be touchdown run, but lost the ball into the end zone as he hit the pylon. Brooks stumbled by Jonathan Pace and partners after a couple. And we fade on the final seconds of the quarter.
Well, this has been a best-case scenario for Randy Edsall and UConn. They got themselves a turnover. They got a touchdown off the turnover and a big play. This has gone perfectly for the team with the worst defense in the country.
They're pitching a shutout through a quarter. The Huskies, a 10-0 lead on the road, looking for their first win over an FBS foe in over a year. It's college football on CBS Sports Network, presented by Geico. Mr. Alan Gooch, the executive director of the Cure Bowl, CEO of the Orlando Sports Foundation. By the way, as of now, CBSSports.com projects the USF Bulls to face Appalachian State in the 2018 Cure Bowl, but you wonder how
short drive from Tampa to Orlando.
You think they get some fans? They got a blowout today, though, at the hands of Tulane in Tampa. That was the game earlier here on CBS Sports Network. Total yardage, a vast chasm. Tulsa has yet to complete a pass. Seth Boomer is 0 for 3. To Hobbs. He goes up and gets it. Justin Hobbs in double coverage, and they drop it in the bucket for a big first down.
Well, the doctor got out his prescription pad, John, and right on cue, like you mentioned, no completions. Drop one in over the top with a rainbow to Hobbs. Puts that one over the top, and he gets that 1 foot in.
27 yards, but now off the fake, Boomer's got nothing. Travis Jones at 6'4", 350, rips him down for a loss.
Quarterback sack number 48, Kevon Jones.
Hey, you get a guy that big, he doesn't sack you, he envelops you at 350 pounds. You'd love to say, I know ideally, I hear it all the time, oh, you got to get rid of the ball in that situation. When you're getting grabbed and shoved to the ground, I'm sure not quite that easy to throw it away.
First sack of the year. That's a true freshman at that size as well. So Cole Neff, the tight end, was in the block. He's now in the left flat. He's wide open. He's got the ball. And Neff, past Kevon Jones, trips him up after he gets the first. Brings the play to the 35 to the 33, 19 yards.
Yeah, how about Neff? He lines up into the right of your screen. He's just standing out there by himself. That was just a gimme. That's a break on the defensive side.
And here's a break. Brooks breaks free. Inside of the 10.
Coming over that left side. Look at the blocking over there. Good job on the left side of that offensive line. Brooks comes through. Watch him protect the ball as he goes down. Smart move by Brooks.
26 yards there for the young man from Tulsa. Fed the ball right into the clutches of Eddie Hahn. His drive gets a little bit of positive yardage. Tonight's Red Zone brought to you by Verizon.
That's how you turn a no gain into about a 3-yard gain. Just so that spin and that determination inside just to get yourself another couple of yards.
Tulsa, though, has had a hard time turning red zone trips into touchdowns. With a bunch left, they try to run inside, and UConn saw that coming. Kevon Jones led the charge.
Yeah, Kevon Jones is another one of those linebackers that can sit in there, 6'2", about 240. He will stone you in there, and they ran right at him, and there was absolutely no give to that Huskies defense on that side.
Yeah, the Huskies defensive coordinator Billy Crocker told us that long-term he'd like to see Jones drop a few LBs, that he's more than big and strong enough, wants him a little quicker. When you run right at him, it makes it a lot easier. Split backfield. Off the fake, the throw to Stokes, end zone, touchdown. the team's leading receiver by yardage, gets his second touchdown grab of the campaign.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a missing ingredient. We talked about didn't have a completion. Bang, got a completion. Get into the red zone. What do? You score on a quick little flip. Nice job by Stokes just getting it and getting that ball in the end zone.
So now the point after, John Parker Romo handling place kicking tonight. He converts. Only had 2 extra points, 1 field goal try on the year entering tonight. And there's a flag down. Keelan Stokes gets the score, but there's a flag on the field.
Right in the middle of the line. One of it's one of those illegal jumps or.
Personal foul, contacting the snapper on the receiving team. That 59 penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. The result of the try is good. Timeout.
Contacting the snapper, can't hit the center. When I was a kid, you used to call that bucking the center.
Huskies led 10-zip. Tulsa a touchdown on its last possession to draw with it a field goal. Let's take a look at the Go RVing road trip facts. The Golden Hurricane of Tulsa celebrating its 92nd homecoming game tonight. Last night a pep rally, a bonfire. The students and the alumni got pumped up for the game. And Tulsa, Randy, has been very good on homecoming. In fact, Tulsa's last win over an FBS team was a stunner against a really good Houston club on homecoming last year.
And this is not a big school. I thought my son went to Wake Forest, and I thought his school at about, 4,100 or something students was small. This is almost 1,000 students smaller than Wake Forest. This is for an FBS school, this is easily the smallest in the country.
Smaller than even the service academies that rank 2nd and 3rd, and then Wake checking into that 4th spot. Ball rolled and then bounds off of Tyler Coyle. He takes a knee. Diamond Cannon seemingly was not here at the game's start, but was decidedly in earlier this game. And there he is trotting back out, the young man who laid his grandmother to rest with his family in Champaign, Illinois. Traveled from Illinois, that noon funeral, to get here for the game tonight. And when we spoke with defensive coordinator Bill Young and asked him if he's not able to make it, how would that affect you? He said it would affect us big time. Alignment, assignment, and physicality are all things he brings.
Well, he's a starter for a reason. So you have to play the guy behind him. And now that's not a problem.
Pindell all day. The crossing look to Kyle Buss. He's got a touchdown grab, and here he's got a first down.
It's also a bit of a quandary. You've got to respect the run. And by respecting the run, these crossing patterns in this case come wide open with Buss.
Now, you touched on the offensive line play for UConn early. Plenty of time there for Pindell. What are you seeing?
Well, it all starts with Crozier in the middle of that defense. And right now they're playing pretty doggone well.
Davis motion, Pindell. That option-like look. Man, he's elusive. Pindell stretching it out against the corner, and Keanu Hill. He broke his ankle there and hops out of bounds. That was a basketball crossover move.
It almost looked like for a second there that Pindell pulled up lame, but that was a 24-yard run where he starts left, there's nothing there, and suddenly it's just Pindell and his talent. That's just pure speed. You see that little hitch in his get-along that he takes it out of bounds, but not before he gains 24 yards.
Now, Pindell did suffer a knee injury earlier this season. That was at Syracuse, 3rd week of September. Came back the next week against Cincinnati. Mensah, he finds that left edge into the clutches of McKinley Whitfield. He pops a strong 4+. The ground game for UConn has been a big deal, Randy, particularly on first down.
Yeah. Crozier and Leon and DeGeorge inside have been so solid. You've seen the protection has been really nice at times when Pindell's wanted to throw the ball. But the running game, when they pop, things pop, they pop inside out.
Over 6.5 yards per carry tonight. 4 down linemen shown here by Tulsa. Pindell. It read like a draw. Instead, he'll go down. Jacob Pugh gets the sack, the walk-on.
Yeah, very nice. When you get your quarterback that close to the line of scrimmage, you have a lot of faith in your offensive line. Dixon, 23, the wide receiver, was trying to get free deep. There were 2 or 3 Tulsa Golden Hurricane on him. Couldn't get the ball down the middle of the field. And eventually, when you're that close to the defense, they're going to get you.
It's only the 8th sack of the year for Tulsa, entered with the 4th fewest in the FBS. Kyle Bus motion. He's open in the flat. Pindell checking down. On the roll. Pindell to Bus. Tries to get low. And he makes the catch. He'll be short of the first by a little more than 2. Jawan Blankenship gave the pressure in the backfield there.
Well, it was a nice job by Bus getting those arms underneath that ball. Because Pindell wants to get it to him early. Can't quite get it to him early. Then Bus readjusts and gets that ball into his body. That was nice. 50-yard field goal, John.
Tarbett has hit from 53 on his career. His season-long try, more than enough leg, and it's good. Michael Tarbett has connected from 44, and now a season-best 50. UConn stretches its lead. Randy Edsall and the Huskies up 6 on the road.
Football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Best Western Hotels and Resorts. Go get rewarded with Best Western. By Bud Light, reminding you not to drink and ride your horse. By Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. And by Humana.
Last night, Tulsa men's basketball, part of the homecoming festivities, won an exhibition against Northeastern State. The college hoop season tips off in just 3 days' time. Tulsa opens the year Tuesday against Alcorn State. They'll be on CBS Sports Network multiple times this year. That includes some big non-conference games. Oklahoma State and Kansas State will be here in Tulsa next month. Michael Tarbett has connected on field goals of 44 and 50 yards. The last paid off a 42-yard drive. 38 of those yards came from the quarterback, David Pindell. Kicks have not been handled cleanly by either side. Touchback here for Sam Crawford. Well, Tulsa's offense back out on the field, but UConn did have to settle for a couple of long field goals, so only a 6-point margin here, Randy, with 2 desperately hungry teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a test of what they can do with Boomer throwing the ball, because with Brooks and company, they can run the ball. And let's see how Tarbett came away from that last kick. He looked like he came up a little lame.
Oh, rolled that left foot. So here, Corey Taylor gets smashed after only a yard. We're going to have to note that Santana Sterling gets the denial. Remember that for UConn, the plan is that true freshman Clayton Harris and freshman Noah Iden, who had handled some extra point field goal and kickoff duties between them, would be shut down for the rest of the year. Play kick to Taylor. Boomer, feathery touch, just a little long. Looking for Justin Hobbs. The coverage there from Jeremy Lucian. Did he make contact before that ball floated past?
He was all over him, but did he make contact? Not enough to draw a flag. Sure didn't look like it. Boomer threw the ball where he had to put it, which is just far enough out. I guess if you're getting picky, that right arm, that slight little grab of the arm could have been called.
Tulsa 2 for 5 on 3rd down. Boomer began the game 0 for 3 passing, but the redshirt freshman a perfect 3 for 3 on the last possession for Tulsa. Seth Boomer wide open, finds Josh Stewart. Santana Sterling delivers the lick. They pick up the first and move the chains.
Nice job coming from the left side of the screen. Little clear out. That's just a beautiful concept by Montgomery and company, buying the receiver that extra space.
And now Taylor right into the thick of the UConn defense.
Just try to get comfortable, try to get your pace that you want. Tulsa still hasn't found sort of their legs as an offense. There's been so much change at quarterback, it's understandable. But as they get more comfortable, they'll pick up the pace.
It's been a bit of a revolving door thanks to injury. Second down, Taylor keeps his footing on the first contact from Messiah Turner. Pierces UConn territory. There's a look at what Tulsa's numbers have dipped to this year. Now keep in mind that a couple of years ago, Tulsa won 10 games.
Yeah.
Top 10 in the country in total offense when Dane Evans was rewriting the record book.
129 yards and basically 16 points. That's a lot.
And there's a lot of space for Corey Taylor. Did he make it? Down at the 1 yard line. O'Neal Robinson helped trip him up. 48 yards.
Well, it's the right side of that offensive line doing a nice job. Paul and Wright popping him out. He just sprung out of that defense. You're going to have to look at that from up top. I didn't see him step out.
Bit of a high snap. A fake. They bite it. Boomer's in. Touchdown.
What do you know? People still run that. Did you watch that Georgia-Florida game last week? All those goal line plays. Not one boot, not one keep by the quarterback. Montgomery and his coaches on the offensive side say, we're not going to let our offense get stuffed like that. Pull that ball out, get a nice block on the outside, and Boomer scores easy.
Big extra point coming here. Tulsa trying to claim the lead. And the kick is good. 7-play, 75-yard drive in barely more than 2 minutes, and a giant run for Corey Taylor. He rips off nearly 50. Put him on the doorstep, and Seth Boomer pays it off. His first rushing score of the year. Tulsa takes a homecoming lead. Tulsa has the homecoming lead. The redshirt freshman from nearby Collinsville, Oklahoma, got the go-ahead score.
Great way to go about this. You seal it backside, onside. You're going to get a great double team and then come off by Chandler Miller. Look at that. I mean, that opens up a huge hole in the middle for Taylor. That's why that play popped so wide open. It's Chandler Miller at center, basically sealing that whole thing off.
And Miller making his 47th consecutive start, two-time all-league performer. On a veteran offensive line, he is the leader. We spoke with right tackle Willie Wright. He was so deferential about the leadership that Miller brings to that group. Tyler Coyle shrugs off a couple of hits, but the special team star, Sam Gotch, in there as part of the pile, silences him at the 26. So the Husky offense back to the field. The total yardage in the first quarter favored UConn, 161-64. In the second already, Randy, it's 148-42 in favor of Tulsa and taking the lead.
Tulsa's already got 212 yards to Connecticut's 203, and that was lopsided about 5 minutes ago.
The Pindell's been the offense for UConn. Throwing on the run, finds Buss and gets another first down. Randy, it's happened so many times early. Pindell on the roll has been able to find these crossing receivers.
Well, it's going to be a roll. It's designed that way, and Buss coming from the backside, dragging across the defense, just being wide open. Just nice touch. I mean, it's harder than it looks, but that's good play design.
Buss has all of UConn's grabs, make it 5 for $124. Here's Mensah. Knocked down after a couple the hard way. Each team, it feels like layering the play calls here, Randy, showing some of this inside run that at times is broken free for each side to open up the other elements.
Well, Randy Edsall would love to have a balanced offense. In that one game against Rhode Island, he had an offense that had 300 yards passing and 300 yards rushing plus. I mean, that's ideally what he would like to do. It hasn't worked out that way, especially in conference opponents.
Now that came against a good FCS team, but an FCS team. That's UConn's only win this year. Play fake, numbers. Pindell felt it and throws it away. Cooper Edmiston flashed in.
Yeah, that's our linebacker we were talking about at the very beginning of this game. Always manages to find himself a way around the ball. See the play, that was a check blitz by Edmiston.
There's a look at Randy Edsall's possessions for his Huskies. Punt, fumble, and then the last 3 scores.
That third one, that's everyone's favorite drive. One play, 80 yards. Thank you.
That was over the top to Kyle Buss. Pindell on 3rd down. Plenty of time.
He was past the line of scrimmage.
Threaded the needle, but I think you're right, my friend. That's ruled a catch.
I didn't
but
see
it looked like he was beyond the line of scrimmage.
He was beyond the line of scrimmage.
Hooked up with Aaron McLean, the converted wide receiver to tight end for 23 yards. And they're going to run tempo and try to get this play off. And whistles now come.
Ruling on the field is a completed catch. The play's under review.
So replay official Jack Winter will take a look.
Yeah, the spot you want to look at is the line of scrimmage. So right here, is he past that when he throws the ball? I tell you what, he's basically inside the 45 when he lets that thing go.
And here's a look at McLean on the other end.
Wow, is that an Inspector Gadget's reach? I think that ball hit the ground. I don't think that's a catch.
Now, we spoke with the UConn coaching staff. They spoke about how 50-50 balls with McLean don't feel like 50-50 balls with his length, 6'5", 230. He was a true receiver, moved to tight end this year, leads the team in receiving yards and grabs entering the game.
Didn't that seem like the arms extended like an extra 6 inches?
Go, indeed.
Yeah, I
yes.
mean, it's like they were there, and then all of a sudden they get longer. Watch the hands. Wow, that is just one heck of a attempted catch. Like we saw from that back angle, this one here. Watch the ball. Does it contact the ground? Chest. I gotta say part of it hit the ground. The arms looked like they were most way under it, but he didn't have possession of it until he hit the ground and it came back to him. And I'm also not completely convinced that it wasn't past the line of scrimmage. See, there's the ball on the 43.5. And he scrambles. He's behind it. He's behind it. I think he's over it when he lets it go.
Yeah, he looks like he's a smidge over the 44.
By a half-yard line.
Yep, I'm with you.
And then is it a catch? I think the ground assists in that catch. And anytime the ground assists in a catch, it's not going to be a catch.
So a lengthy review here. A 1-point game, a couple of teams on long slides. Each enters with a loss in 12 straight games against FBS competition. UConn last won against an FBS foe against Tulsa in Connecticut last year. Tulsa's last win was the week before that, homecoming of last year against Houston.
One more time. Yeah, that ball hits the ground. And then he does get it. It's taken a while to get this thing adjudicated, trying to decide where the ball is if it's caught. Where the ball was let go.
They've already moved UConn back to the 43. Now we're going to get word. Our referee, Mike Roach, the teams are lined up at the 43.
UConn's ready to punt.
After review, the receiver did not maintain possession throughout the catch, therefore it is incomplete. It'll be 4th down at the 44-yard line.
And we'll take another look as the rain picks up here.
Yeah, one more time and we look at it. Remember, you've got to possess the ball, and the arms reach out, but the ball is never really possessed. When is it grabbed? When is it actually a catch? It's after he hits the ground and after the ball hits the ground. That's a good call.
So instead of the long first down, UConn to punt, and the rain is picking up quite a bit here. Luke Magliozzi had just a 26-yard punt the first time around.
Well, the bands are getting ready to play. There's going to be some wet sheet music around here.
Here's a look at the downpour. Jarian Anderson lets it bound. Touched by the Huskies.
Yeah, he can touch it with impunity once it's touched by UConn.
And so Tulsa, after a 33-yard punt, back to the offense. Now the clock seems like it was still frozen, wasn't it? At 5:09 on the snap.
5:09 at the ruling.
As the receiver gave a fair catch signal. We touch this ball, first down.
Now, Tulsa has had some varied offensive success. Boomer, Brooks, and Taylor have done the job. They'll have it when we're back. Driving rain here in Tulsa. 14-13 Tulsa the lead, and the clock an issue. It's still frozen at 5:09. It remained frozen during the punt just before break.
Yeah, check out the 5:09.
Please reset the game clock to 4 minutes, 45 seconds. 4:45 is the clock to
There you
run
go.
the last play.
That's more like it.
4:55.
And here's an important part. Here's an important part of the game for Montgomery and his staff on the sideline. Not only have they struggled at the end of games, they really want to emphasize the end of the half to almost simulate the end of a game, to close and finish these halves. See how they do.
Shamari Brooks, what a pop on first down! Into UConn territory, O'Neal Robinson sends him out of bounds.
How about going through the middle of your offense with Chandler Miller in there, working with Paul and company. You're getting some nice blocks. Shamari Brooks just pops. Well, we've seen Taylor and Brooks just pop crazy. That's a 32-yard run up the middle.
They are averaging double-digit yards per carry on the quarter. Seth Boomer, right to Corey Taylor. It is downhill running. O'Neal Robinson stumbles him. You know, Brooks is only a yard shy of 100, and now Taylor is closing in on 75 yards.
Yeah, Miller and Paul and Willie Wright, who we talked to yesterday, really doing a nice job on that right side, popping things loose. UConn in that four-man look.
On the ground again, it's Taylor. First down. And what push right into the heart of UConn's defense. A defense that had been struggling all year, Randy.
Yeah, and Taylor's really running. Brooks has got the pop and the sizzle. Taylor's showing the power at about 215 pounds.
Play fake in the rain. Soft feathery touch. Touchdown. Keenan Johnson.
Well, that's exactly what we talked about earlier, John. How can you finish a half? Well, that's how you want to finish a half if you're Montgomery and his staff. And Boomer shows the touch to a wide open receiver for 6 points.
And what faith for Philip Montgomery. He has done a really nice job of setting up impactful plays like that.
Yeah, with play action. And four plays, 76 yards. That's some fast action.
Explosive, point after true, and showing the confidence in his young pup, the redshirt freshman quarterback, to throw in this kind of weather.
Well, he doesn't mind running. That running game loosens up the middle of a defense. And there's Johnson, the recipient of the gimme over the top with a soft floater.
Well, his third touchdown grab. Now there's still a bunch of time, but remember, UConn led this game 10-0. And here's Tulsa on top 21-13. Philip Montgomery's offense looks unstoppable.
That drive started at 4:49 because the clock hadn't run on the last kick. 3:41 right now as you're kicking off and giving the ball back to UConn. Now, having said that, Pindell and UConn are not your classic 2-minute offense, but we've seen them run the ball in some big spots, and when they have passed, it's come off the run with play action to the middle of the field.
There you see a look at Clayton Harris, the true freshman. If there are issues with Michael Tarbett, a field goal could be a possibility to end the half. We saw Tarbett roll that ankle some on the kickoff earlier this quarter. Here's the boot. Tyler Coyle lets it bound. CBS's Super Bowl season continues with regional action, including the bitter rivalry between Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Or how about two young QBs airing it out? Mahomes and KC clash with Mayfield and Cleveland. Check your local listings. Kick off your day with the NFL Today, presented by Jeep at 12 Eastern. And what a display it was. It was video game, NBA All-Star game kind of football when these two met in college.
That looks like a typo. 734 yards passing. Tell you, Mahomes has been abusing defenses in the NFL just like that.
Here's Pindell on the ground. Slippery by nature. Gets about 4, 2 timeouts for the Huskies.
So you got plenty of time. No reason to rush. You know, Pindell and company, the most important thing is you see him trying to sort of dry his hands off with this rain. You want to make sure you maintain your grip on the ball.
And that was part of the story last week against UMass when UConn only threw the ball 6 times. Randy Edsall was quoted after the game talking about smaller hands for Pindell and an issue gripping the football as he gets steered out of bounds by Zaven Collins. But when the Connecticut media spoke with Pindell, he said, I have no problem with that. I don't have small hands. I can grip the ball just fine. I've thrown in the rain all my life.
There we go. Third down, about 2.5, 3.
There's Tarbett, seemingly healthy. He's ready to start warming up if UConn can convert here.
The go-to guy has been Buss on the crossing patterns.
UConn began the game 3 of 4 on 3rd down, has missed on the last 3.
There's Buss right there in the slot.
Buss with all 5 catches today. Pindell throws. Dangerous ball deflected by the turnover magnet, Edmiston. And the punt unit will have to trot out. And Tulsa's got a chance now with 3 timeouts in 2.5 minutes.
Oh, there's plenty of time left. And what an excellent job being done by the Tulsa defense. Bill Young, their defensive coordinator upstairs, got to love the job that the rush did containing Pindell and not giving him any space really down the field to throw that ball. Edmiston was right there.
And you also wonder if that possession is any indication. If this weather keeps up, it feels like it favors Tulsa. Magliozzi, strong hang time. Jarrigan Anderson lets it bound. And the Huskies down it at the 29. A 39-yard punt. Coming up on the Verizon halftime report. Brent Stover, Kevin Carter, Christian Fourier will get you caught up on all the action in college football, plus first half highlights and stats from here in Tulsa. So the Golden Hurricane, losers of 7 straight, 3 timeouts in the ball in the hands of Seth Boomer. And this young gun QB has his first 2 touchdown passing game of his career already.
They've passed for 93 yards. Run for 195. You see Bill Young, the defensive coordinator for Tulsa. His defense has played considerably better here, especially in the second quarter. They got off to kind of a rough start. A lot of big plays.
We'll see what Boomer and company can accomplish in a little more than 2 minutes. Brooks taken down by Kevon Jones. The possessions for Tulsa, not much early, incredibly explosive.
And it's not taking them long when they do score. 3 minutes being their longest drive.
And off the play fake, the leaping Keenan Johnson, who had the touchdown grab last time around, could not corral it with Taj Herring-Wilson on it.
Early on here, both teams has turned the ball over one time. Boomer fumbling the ball through the end zone. Mensah dropping the ball basically on a forced fumble earlier in the game.
Third down and 5. UConn struggled on third down on the season entering this game, and there's another struggle. Brooks, who already has 100 on the game, salts that number. O'Neal Robinson veers him out of play. Another long first down run.
Wow, look at this. Go this way, nope, go that way. That was beautiful. That's not closing the hole on the defensive side, and that's good vision. You hear the term vision for a running back? That's Brooks, an excellent vision, sensing and feeling that hole in the backside.
4 straight third down conversions for Tulsa, and Brooks with a flag down has about 8. Looks like it could be a hold. He has had tremendous success along with Corey Taylor, running right into the teeth of that UConn defense.
Yeah, right over Chandler Miller at center has done a beautiful job.
Second down.
So pick that one up. 8-yard run in effect. And that's 142 yards for Brooks. His career high was 164. That came in the meeting last year, his first start.
And still a minute and 32, minute 30 left.
And you take Brooks out to give him a blow, you put in Taylor, and you get the same thing, Randy.
Well, Taylor is now over 80 yards, 84 yards, I believe.
Feed Taylor again. Taylor!
And up again to
Taking the man for a ride at Darian Beavers.
Now this is a 2-minute offense of a whole different animal. You want to talk about throwing the ball? Sure. This is just Tulsa deciding to ram the ball down Connecticut's throat.
Taylor again. Touchdown. Corey Taylor's 5th rushing score of the year. And the homecoming crowd loves it here at Tulsa.
Chandler Miller at center, Tristan Wyatt, Chris Ivey, Chris Paul, Willie Wright. That offensive line just took control of this game here on that drive. And Taylor never gets down on the ground. He's on top of bodies, and the ball gets over the goal line.
Extra point. Good. Scoring drive and barely over a minute, Randy.
That's still a minute and 11 seconds left. So UConn is still going to get the ball back. Talk about the inside of that offensive line. There's Chandler Miller at center doing a pretty good job. Look at him block back. They get movement. You know, that's a 350-pound Connecticut Husky there at defensive tackle. They're moving out of the way. Great job by Chandler Miller for Taylor.
Tulsa already has more points, and we're still in the second quarter, than it has had against any FBS team this year, and Brooks and Taylor are at the heart of it.
Coming into this game, there were only 11 schools in the country that have had 2 guys running for over 100 yards in FBS in the last few years. It just is not that often that you get 2 guys running over 100 on the same team the same week.
Much less of the first half.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it what, 2 weeks ago with Colorado State, or last week with Wyoming?
Indeed.
They did it in that game.
Yeah, Cowboys have done it a couple of games in a row.
Just does not happen that often.
Philip Montgomery, known as an offensive guru. He was the O coordinator at Baylor. Before he came to Tulsa, Bears had led the country in total offense and scoring offense each of his last 2 years. A touchback for the Huskies. And now how handicapped is UConn, that has shown some air game tonight, Randy. But in this rain, since the rain has arrived, it seems to have been muted.
I think you go back to what you were doing. Yeah, I don't sense it's quite as driving as it was earlier. I'm sure, knowing most young, confident quarterbacks, Pindell's telling them on the sideline, you go ahead and give me a play, I can do it. But you saw the running game for Tulsa. Why couldn't UConn do the same thing?
Pindell loads up, slings it underneath, finds his back. Xavier Scott, the converted wide receiver, hops out of bounds. Zaven Collins helped him out of play. There's John Dunn, the first-year offensive coordinator, spent a couple of years with the Chicago Bears, says he got a PhD in football learning under John Fox.
Is that a sheepskin? That count?
I think so. Pindell. Same spot, back to Scott. Helped out of bounds by Collins. Under a minute, 2 timeouts.
So those 2 plays kind of answer your question about the rain. Pindell's not letting it bother him. He's got a guy in Scott who's a former wide receiver who's really adjusting well, that's made for catching out of the backfield, especially in a short passing game.
3 down linemen. So Pindell's got plenty of time. Dangerous ball. The catch, yes, but the collision from Manny Bunch. He pounds Kyle Buss.
Yeah, Buss. That's the dangerous part, is on the receiving end.
And remember, it was Bunch who was beaten by Buss for the 80-yard touchdown earlier in the game. Pindell, sideline incomplete. Mayala was closest to it. We haven't seen much of Hergy Mayala. He had double-digit catches in 14 straight games before the weather-impacted loss to UMass last week, when he was not targeted once. And I think that's only his 2nd target tonight.
Yeah, they've done a nice job. Bill Young's defense has sort of taken him away, I think, by design.
3rd down. Pindell. He'll get the first. Nice job of changing hands and getting out of bounds. 26 seconds.
Yeah, we haven't seen him run around and go too crazy since that one big run where he kind of pulled up and ran out of bounds on that 24-yard run. But boy, his burst out of the backfield, once he decides he's going to go, he spends no time leaving.
Haven't heard much from Keon Dixon. He's on the near side.
Trying to get to about the 30 for a field goal.
Scott gets driven out of bounds. That's a catch to the 40. 20 seconds, clock stopped.
10 more yards. Virtually no wind. Is it raining? Yes, but you look at the ribbons on the uprights. It's nearly breathless.
Michael Tarbett warms.
How's that ankle?
Pindell looking long. Caught. Keon Dixon gets his first grab all the way to the 1. Allie Green, the 4th in coverage. 39 yards.
I think John Dunn and company answer your question about whether you're going to let the rain bother you throwing the ball. Do a really nice job on the outside and the perimeter, and then take your shot down the field. That was beautiful placement for Dixon to run under that ball.
So UConn exhausts timeouts here. 12 seconds. Your best option is the run of your quarterback, but then the clock runs, so what do?
You have the option of giving it to Pindell on kind of a boot or a sprint roll, quick roll.
A 1 timeout left. Keon Dixon, his first grab of the game. Now they have made a change here. All drive, it's been Xavier Scott, the better pass catching back. Kevin Mensah is now in. Bus motions. Pindell behind Mensah, trying to find that edge. Pindell knocked down. Only gets to the 1. UConn will have to use its final timeout to freeze the clock with 6 seconds. Cooper Edmiston was in there.
Trying to do almost like the old student body left. Great determination by the Golden Hurricane defense. Watch them rally to the ball.
UConn has not charged its final timeout.
So the ruling that he's out of bounds, so they still have the timeout here.
That he was shoved out of bounds.
And Manny
So,
Bunch.
6 seconds, you have time for a pass. A quick pass, but time for a pass if you want to run it.
Pindell. Time ticks. Wide open. Incomplete. Ugly looking toss, and Hergy Mayala could not bring it in.
And the clock runs out. Wide open.
On the doorstep, and Mayala had no one near him.
You talked about Mayala, and they haven't gotten the ball much to him. Wasn't a perfect pass. It was high and it was behind him. But a wide receiver, you live for being that open. And he couldn't come through.
An explosive second quarter. Tulsa scores touchdowns on all 4 drives and will have the ball to begin the second. We're at halftime, and Tulsa has the homecoming edge. 28-13 on UConn. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network. Back in Tulsa, an electric first half. The UConn Huskies led 10-0, but it's the Golden Hurricane by 15 at the break at homecoming. John Sadak alongside the Hall of Famer and Randy Cross. Offense galore in that first half, and what a ground game for Tulsa.
Unbelievable job by that offensive line, specifically of Tulsa. Got to point out Chandler Miller and company really were the difference in that game. But when we look back at it as the second half gets going and you take a look at these stats, how big is not getting that touchdown at the end of the half for UConn? I mean, that's 7 points. I guarantee you in another quarter are going to be so critical.
Those first half stats brought to you by Humana, and here's a look at the highlights.
Well, Boomer did a really nice job the entire half, not only throwing but also running the ball. He dropped that one into Johnson towards the end, and he had both Taylor and Norris just running like crazy. For UConn, good job by Pindell running the ball. Pretty good job of him by throwing the ball a little bit. But the difference really was in this game. By all rights, this should be 28-20 with that touchdown at the end of the first half.
From the Tulsa backfield, the Golden Hurricane will have the ball to begin the second. Had won the toss and deferred. And the ball shot into the clutches of Sam Crawford Jr. He'll take the touchback. And Seth Boomer back to the fire, who showed poise, who showed shades of what he produced in the first half tonight last week. Philip Montgomery said that the way he handled the pocket, his eyes being in the right spot, dropping dimes in particular pass scenarios, showed the flicker was there for Boomer. It's been a revolving door at quarterback thanks to injury since Dane Evans graduated from Tulsa a couple of years ago.
But 5 of 10 for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nice start.
And Brooks on the zigzag doesn't have much. Travis Jones got low, and with his 350-pound frame, drops him for a loss.
Yeah, that running offense for Tulsa showed us in the first half they're a lot better off just going right at UConn than trying to go sideways or hit them at an angle.
And you say it, they bring it. Shamari Brooks takes a big pop. Doesn't get a whole lot there. UConn brings out the physicality to begin the second. Omar Ford, their second leading tackler.
A lot of substitution in and out. Tight end for a slot receiver, double slot formation.
And movement. Boomer on a free play. Goes down. So A.J. Garson lassoed him down.
Defense number 98, 5-yard penalty, third down.
That was Luol Ugwak, the true freshman out of Edmonton, Alberta, one of 5 Canadians on the club.
Ugwak bit on that action. Boomer gave him a little bit of a voice inflection, and he was gone for the snap. He was going to get that extra little bit on the pass rush.
A look to the sidelines. Philip Montgomery, the fourth-year head coach, calls the plays. Said he needed his receivers to create some more separation. There wasn't much separation there, but Jarian Anderson on the quick slant picks up the first down, hit in stride by Boomer. That's 11 yards.
Yeah, that was more good placement by the quarterback than separation by Anderson, because Boomer sticks that thing right out in front of Anderson, and he stretches his arms out and gets that thing into his body. That was nice form there by Anderson.
Now the handoff, and Brooks through the arm tackle. Finally gets banged down at midfield. That'll be good, it looks like, for the first down, depending upon the spot. O'Neal Robinson, the hit. They will move the chains.
Again, pretty good blocking, but mainly Brooks using his ins and outs. He gives you the in and goes for the out. Some nice stuff. A lot of people around him, made most of them miss.
17 carries, 151 yards, closing in on the career high number he set against UConn last year. Play fake Boomer. With Johnson holding the block, Boomer's got the first down. Keenan Johnson, a touchdown grab, and also carved out some space for his QB.
That UConn defense knows about it, John. Look at him bite on the run by Taylor, and that's why Boomer's so wide open. Boomer still needs to get two hands on that ball when he sees bodies around him when he's running with it.
High snap slowed them, and Travis Jones had time to close in on Taylor. This game has had such giant momentum swings, Randy, as there's a Husky slow to get up. Deeper downfield all the way at the 15-yard line, Taj Herring-Wilson, who only just came back. You know, we spoke with defensive coordinator Billy Crocker. He said, hey, against this Tulsa team, we need him. It's good to have him back after an ankle injury had sidelined him multiple times this year.
Yeah, but they were anticipating, with Montgomery's offense being such as it is, to be able to produce more pace, be able to flip the ball more out, to stretch him down the field. And to some degree, they've done that. But the biggest challenge to this defense hasn't been the defensive backs. It's been the front seven that's been challenged by this O-line up front.
And that's where you wonder, you know, how much cumulative effect is there. It's something Randy Edsall talked about with us this week. So many freshmen starting and in the two deep for UConn. When you get to the back end of the schedule, that's where the wear really shows, right?
It's, to a degree, they're younger. They're just less experienced. And the more of them you play, the less they've seen as a group. Hey, you know, I don't know if you've noticed this. It's raining pretty good right now.
Yeah. I think you got a future as a meteorologist, by the way. We can get you a Doppler system. There's a look at the youth. All the most in the FBS, and that also means not as much time in the weight room. The conditioning and strength training, a big part of it.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it. You haven't had him for a full year. The strength conditioning coach hasn't had him for an off season.
Play fake Boomer. Neff wide open. They bite again. And Cole Neff, his third touchdown grab of the year. 38 yards for number 38.
The other problem happens, John, when you have play action, you get safeties that stick their nose in the run. And the safeties were all up in the run. They were not going to let Taylor beat them. Well, they didn't have to worry about Taylor. They lost track of the tight end.
He has 9 catches all year. 3 of them are touchdowns. Point after true. Remember, the first half ended with a woulda, shoulda, coulda UConn touchdown that fell incomplete. The second half sparks with Tulsa going 75 yards in 7 plays. And the Golden Hurricane pulls away. 35-13, Tulsa the lead, and UConn getting coached up. This is a pivotal point for the Huskies, who had a touchdown that could have made it a one-score game fall so closely incomplete to conclude the first half. And just watch Tulsa storm down the field for a late tight end release touchdown from 38 yards out.
Really important right here for UConn offensively. You got to answer. You got to keep this defense off the field, get some points on the board, and keep hope alive. You know, Tulsa doesn't finish well, but if you let this thing get out of control, it won't matter.
UConn The ball back to Tyler Coyle. It's been a tricky night handling kicks. He'll take the touchback. Tuesday night, 11 Eastern, college basketball tips off on CBS Sports Network. Number 7 Nevada out to prove they're one of the nation's elite. Wolfpack welcome BYU right here on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Nevada made national noise last year in the Sweet 16, and what could have been for the Wolfpack? Lost by 1 to the Cinderella, Loyola Chicago in that Sweet 16. They got the Martin twins, Cody and Caleb, back. They'll be on a dozen times this season. UConn's on the ground for its first play. Maybe half a yard.
So hoops are back.
They're back.
Does that mean John Rothstein's back?
Oh, yes. So pocket squares galore.
Okay.
Twitter has
Just
been
curious.
well populated.
Yeah. I'll see him on Tuesday night, I'm sure.
He's breaking stories. And I'm sure still talking up his Ithaca Bombers as well. After Edmiston's 7th tackle of the game, he had a career best 17 against the Huskies last year. Play fake to Mensa. Pindell. Off the hands of Keon Dixon, incomplete.
Well, unlike that pass in the end zone that was incomplete, that should have been a touchdown, Pindell puts this ball on Dixon. It's a crossing pattern. Takes lots of time to develop, but there's no rush. And he flips this right into Dixon's kitchen on the fly. And the ball goes right through his hands. I'm pretty sure it rains in Connecticut, so I'm not sure if being in the rain and being wet's an excuse.
It was raining last week. The Connecticut struggled. Fake to Scott. Pindell under pressure. Hoists it. Maella. Intercepted. Keanu Hill, the JUCO transfer, the backpedaling pick.
Another turnover. Time to get out that chain, get out that belt. Well, the key to this is the pressure. Pindell would normally, we saw the good protection the time before. They break out the hurricane chain. He's getting pressure at the very end, so he can't step into the pass. It floats, and when it floats, it's a dead duck. And it goes right into the arms of Hill.
Second pick of the year. Young man who had missed last year. A knee injury suffered in 2016 cost him all of last campaign. Taylor, giant sea of space, carries a Husky an extra few yards. Messiah Turner had latched on, and he took a 205-pound weight for a ride, 15 yards in total.
Look what happens when they blitz in the middle. You're going to see blocks and blocks, and then a blitz. And as soon as that blitz gets blocked, see you later, bye. Taylor's out of there.
Here Taylor corralled. First contact by Beavers. Got some help from Kevin Murphy.
Yeah, you saw Beavers trying to rip at that ball. You're going to see a lot of that now in this second half, especially as wet as things are getting. Defensive players are taught always be ripping at the ball, but especially in these conditions.
We've had 3 total turnovers. The first 2 came back-to-back bang-bang. One aside in the game's infancy. UConn fades late. That leaves some space underneath. Wide open. Keenan Johnson stretches. He'll fall short. Jeremy Lucien had faded back right before the snap, Randy, and good job by Seth Boomer to see that.
That's part of the recognition. You know, Coach Montgomery, he's got a young quarterback and an inexperienced quarterback, and those things he does in practice that he doesn't take to the game, you'd like to think that's one thing he does in both.
And there's a first down run for Corey Taylor. Pounding up the gut, O'Neal Robinson trips him up.
Yeah, consistently that inside, especially the guards, Wyatt and Paul, have really been here all day long doing some really serious work along with Miller.
More space. Taylor stumbled, earns about 4 in a driving rain. Let's take a look at that blocking.
Well, as you look at the blocking, just keep in mind they're on blocks. Look at Miller coming out. He's pulling. Now, it's not a real pretty play, but it's 4 yards. And it also sets up play action like a big dog.
And there's the play fake. End zone touchdown. Justin Hobbs. 17 yards out. Tulsa has been building for moments like this seemingly every drive throughout this game.
Another really nice recognition by Boomer. He knows they've called a play action. I'm going to get bite. I've got to have the touch. And he has perfect touch over the top. And again, wide open to Hobbs.
First touchdown grab for Hobbs since the season opener against Central Arkansas. And now Tulsa has its most explosive scoring game of the year. At 38 in the opener, the lone win against the FCS UCA team. And they're hanging over 40 on UConn tonight. (42-13), the most explosive scoring day for Tulsa all year. The latest for Justin Hobbs, the fifth-year senior. Let's take a look at tonight's top 25 scoreboard, brought to you by Ace Hardware. Penn State blown out by a Michigan team that you have in the CFP.
Yeah, I've got them in my top 4 right now. Of course, I have Bama and LSU in the top 4, and that won't last much longer.
Now, UCF, what a thriller it was earlier in the week against Temple.
9-0 Alabama over LSU.
Yeah.
Another one of those games, huh?
Shades of it. At least it's not 6-3 final, right?
Looks like Tua's going to be playing in the second half there.
Tyler Coyle gets smashed. So the UConn Huskies, who the last couple of weeks were incredibly competitive, gave USF, then nationally ranked, a giant scare a couple of weeks ago. Perhaps the Bulls have gotten exposed in these last few weeks. Tulane drubbed them earlier today. Dominated most of the game in terms of having the lead, at least, against UMass in a driving rain. Handicapped by that, only threw 6 passes. A game they led for over 52 minutes. They lost to a former 1AA rival. This is the first major deficit they've had since. Mensa, the first down run. What a shoulder. That's perhaps the hit of the game by McKinley Whitfield. There's a flag out there after.
Is that going to be targeting call? That was a late flag. It was a heck of a hit. Is there head involved? Oh, yes, there is.
That's a 14-yard gain. Our officials' dialogue. Mike Roach, our referee.
That was McKinley Whitfield. Check out the hit at the very end. I don't know. It was,
when I saw it live, I thought it was shoulder to shoulder.
It's shoulder to shoulder, but necessarily doesn't have to include the head.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. The jawing after the hit, it would seem.
That was a heck of a hit by McKinley.
And McKinley, converted linebacker, led the team in tackles last year, had time at that hybrid star position, then they moved him to safety.
One more time.
Standing over him in that spot.
That's the jawing right there. Well, if that wasn't targeting, what are they reviewing?
That's a good question. Those soaked referee uniforms almost look plastic. I feel like we're in an
They probably feel
80s
like it.
video.
They probably breathe like it too right now. They're so wet.
Devo was on the field handling the officiating, the looks of the outfit. Yeah, what a hit by Whitfield. Young man with over 250 career tackles.
Remember, the whole thing about targeting involves the crown of the helmet and launching and whatnot, but there's also the forceful blow or the forcible blow that comes in, just something that involves, you know, some pretty severe action, put it that way. That might qualify in that. Like I said, I didn't hear them call targeting, but they are reviewing it now.
And Whitfield revered as one of the leaders of this Tulsa team. You asked Philip Montgomery yesterday, you know, who are the guys that are championing the cause for you? First name he said, Whitfield. great leader. Referee Mike Roach. And still extended dialogue on the field here, as the teams are still huddled up. A big hit dropped on Mensah. Unsportsmanlike conduct was the initial call.
The flag came in all the way from the back judge in the middle, in the back there, Byron Adams. Yeah, a little malfunctioning microphone, but that is a targeting call on McKinley.
And that means that Whitfield has been ejected from this game and will have to sit the first half next week when Tulsa travels to Memphis. So Whitfield, their leader, the senior.
So add the 15 yards on top of that. Forcible contact. That was not crown of the helmet. There was no launch, but it was forcible contact to the head neck area of a defenseless opponent, and it was ruled targeting.
That helps the field position for UConn dramatically. Pindell has the blocks. Gets cleanly tackled and driven down by Bryson Powers. So how does McKinley Whitfield's departure affect this game? Remember, Tulsa's up big, but Tulsa has had many fourth-quarter woes, has had trouble finishing this year.
That's a safety position. That's in the middle of the field. A lot of your calls come out of the middle of the field. A lot of your coordination comes out of the middle of the field. Now your defensive quarterback is off the field.
McLean motions into the wing, hand off to Mensah. He's got some room. Gets knocked down by Powers. Jordan Mitchell in there as well. That's good for a first down.
Yeah, I was always taught when you get down like this, it's kind of like eating an elephant. You do it one bite at a time. And you can't score 30 points on one play, but you can score 6 points pretty doggone quick and then get the ball back and score again. Then get the ball back and score again.
So that's how you took down that steak a couple of nights ago.
That's right. Just pretend it's an elephant.
Yeah, the elephant's on the mothership right now, facing LSU. Mensah, a little bit of a stumble, finds his footing. And a flag.
Yeah, it's inside, right in that holding area.
65.
That's a lonely feeling as an offensive lineman, I can tell you. When you hear your number being discussed.
Having issues with this pouring rain, the official's microphone. A holding call here on Matt Parrott, the right tackle, who's one of UConn's best young men of the community as well. He's on the Werfel Trophy watch list. Pindell in the draw. Behind Parrott. And a flag.
That's going to be
a second flag.
That's going to be holding on UConn. Specifically on Mayala, who's having a bit of a rough night.
Mayala career high in receiving yards the last time these teams met. He's the team leader in catches entering the game. He's been contained. Mensah has nothing. Cooper Edmiston closing in on double-digit tackles.
Yeah, when you've seen stops inside, let's be honest, both offenses have functioned pretty well in between the tackles. Edmiston's been the guy to get in there and make those tackles.
And his role is unique. Tulsa injected more odd front or three-down lineman look in the wake of the Tulane loss last year. That helped them score their last FBS win, the homecoming victory over Houston. Pindell into the flat, flag down. Scott shoulders a Golden Hurricane defender, and some extra bodies help tame him there.
Yeah, it's going to be another holding, I believe, against UConn.
And it is holding. Apologies, issues with Mike Roach's microphone.
Holding on the offense is another Cameron Parks, 5 on the
Yeah, it's happening right there on the left side. Vandemark, 74.
But Randy, talking about the odd front for Tulsa, one of the players that affected the most is that middle linebacker spot at Cooper Edmiston, who generally plays a little differently in the three-man look.
It gives him more of a freedom to run and put his nose in on the run.
That's what he does right there to Xavier Scott.
Good example, because in a 4-3 defense, especially when you play the Tampa 2 style, that middle linebacker has that deep middle area between the safeties. So he's got to almost be going back before he goes forward. Now in this defense, he can stick his face forward. You see Edmondson doing exactly that, going forward from the jump.
So 3rd down and 38. Three-man rush. And Pindell is pressured, and he's brought down. Flag down. They sent 3, and they got to Pindell. Travis Gibson collapsed in on the QB. We'll see what the laundry's for. But
yeah, that's 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,000 oops. When you rush 3 and you suddenly get to the quarterback like that, that's a collapsing pocket.
So 4th down arrives. Apologies, we don't have a working microphone here.
I think what he said was no penalty, no flag, 4th down.
So Magliozzi to punt. Darian Anderson lets it angle out of bounds. Or excuse me, down near the 30. Now Tulsa will have the ball back. The Golden Hurricane, since the start of the 2nd quarter, has dominated UConn. Can they taste 50 tonight? We'll find out. Now that is some homecoming school spirit. In a driving rain, Tulsa seeking its first FBS win in over a year, drubbing UConn in this homecoming game. John Sadak, the Hall of Famer Randy Cross, our CBS crew. There's a look at the conditions. It's been pretty wet, Randy, just about all night.
For the better part of the game. You take a look at the radar. There's a steady series of a storm just dragging through Tulsa here.
There are the numbers. Seth Boomer was 0 for 3 passing in the 1st quarter. He's 9 for 11 since. 4 touchdowns, 168 yards. He also has Javon Thomas in the backfield. So no Shamari Brooks, no Corey Taylor. It's the first appearance in the game for Thomas at running back. Golden Hurricane going deeper.
So 284 yards of rushing off the field.
Thomas gets submarine, a couple of yards. Ryan Carroll trips him up there.
He went from running straight ahead, full force, to forehead on the ground. So how you take care of a running back wants to lower his shoulder, take his legs out.
They're the number under Philip Montgomery. 16-4 when scoring 40 or more. What a shoulder. Furious run by Thomas. A 1st down.
Yeah, now there's a better answer by Thomas. He had his legs taken out. You got a Husky down on the field. He runs through the attempted arm tackles, through a shoulder tackle. Does a very, very nice job. It was Turner with the attempted shoulder.
That's a true freshman for the Huskies. That's a true freshman that in a little bit of time figure will have some extra weight, but looks to be in a significant grimace. We'll step aside. The true freshman Messiah Turner slammed into by Javon Thomas on a first down run, getting looked at by the athletic training staff.
Yeah, as he comes in, they match shoulder to shoulder, and he goes straight down to the ground.
Yeah, that was the earlier hit. Thomas in the backfield while Turner's on the sidelines.
They're still looking inside and at that shoulder collarbone area.
What a gash for Thomas. Nearly a clean hurdle of O'Neal Robinson, but he got enough of him to chip him down after 31.
Well, another pretty good example of two things: good speed, but better blocking. Miller, the center, pulls out, and he gets the trap block on the far outside on an overrunning linebacker. That's what releases the run.
Thomas gets spun in the air. Contact from Tyler Coyle. Randy, Tulsa's averaging over 8 yards a rush.
Yeah, that was about what that run right there was. 8 yards. They've just decided, you know, at some point in the second quarter, the heck for being cute, we're going to pound it, and that's also going to open up the play action.
It's going to open up the roster. Reed Martin is in, who has no carries, no catches all year. The redshirt freshman. He's their fourth running back.
So you're saying he's due?
I would say. Up 43 to 13. He gets the ball and shoulders down a Husky and picks up the first. O'Neal Robinson on the wrong side yet again.
How about this performance out of Brooks and Taylor earlier? 284 yards and 2 touchdowns out of your first 2 running backs. And the better part of this drive here is from your 3rd and 4th running back.
That sounds like a great traveling country act, Brooks and Taylor.
Almost like it's been done before.
I think so.
No, that was done.
Randy wins the pun game. Martin in the backfield. Keenan Johnson is one-on-one on the left side. They go on the ground for the freshman. Second, third effort. Wills a path to the end zone for a touchdown. The young man from right here in Tulsa had no carries before 2 plays ago, and now he's got his first score.
Now that was all generated inside by Miller and the guards. Look at the contact, look at the motion, 1 broken tackle, and force of will by the freshman. He carries 2 defenders into the end zone for the touchdown.
6 plays, 70 yards in just under 2.5 minutes. Point after is good. They said on Tristan Lacey, the backup kicker, for the extra point.
One more time, it's all about 2 things. It's about the blocking by the line and the tight ends. And then how about that ability to keep moving and keep churning and getting that help from Chandler Miller, kind of pushing you into the end zone.
And Chandler Miller, according to his head coach, Philip Montgomery, quiet kid, the only guy on the team who talks slower than me. But he also said he thinks that Miller has a chance to play at the next level, that he grades out great, had him at 95% last week in the setback against Tulane.
It's all about, I don't care if it's college or pro, John, eventually you're going to get a shot. You're going to get your chance. You have to take advantage of your chance. He's learned how to take advantage of his chance here at this level. If he gets a chance to play, gets a chance to practice, he's got to take advantage of it. And if you don't do it, you got nobody to blame but yourself.
Tyler Coyle has some space and solid field position for a UConn team that's getting routed here. And for Tulsa, this is the most explosive point-scoring day since the 9th of September last year against Louisiana. And remember that last year Tulsa suffered. Went 2-10, went 1-7 in the league. But remember this, Randy. 5 of those losses came in the final minute. 2 came on field goals as time expired. And this year, maybe not that same level of drama, but a lot of close calls against good teams.
Oh, 49 points in less than 3 quarters is not a bad effort.
And the run by Mensah. Now, it helps tonight. They're playing a UConn team that is incredibly young, that is truly rebuilding in the grandest of senses, and had entered the game last in the FBS in many major defensive categories, including points and yards.
Oh, and really the difference, the O-line for Tulsa took this game over in the middle of the second quarter. And it hasn't been close since then because of them. That's been the big thing, the running backs and the offensive line. And Boomer's done a good job of taking advantage of his shots when he's gotten them.
Pindell. Good job to protect the football there. Trayvon Reeves latched onto him and tried to swing him down. That'll move the chains. And all of Pindell's playmaking abilities have been muted by a combination of the avalanche of points that have come from Tulsa, the inclement weather, and a few near miss plays at swing moments of this game, particularly right before halftime.
Yeah, that drop ball, bad pass at the end of the first half really put a pause in this football team.
With the blitz on, you can hear that's not Boo, that's Pugh for the walk-on. Gets another hit. Young man who has some legacy. His grandfather Jethro Pugh, at the time with the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, one of the greats. Was on that doomsday defense.
And there's the number for UConn. The biggest point differential in the third quarter in the country this year. Now, in truth, tonight, the second quarter, probably even more consequential. Pindell with Edmiston in his face. That's emblematic of the night. Incomplete. Let's go back to what could have been a one-possession game as zeros arrive for halftime.
28-13, no time left. Just misses Mayala on a wide-open pass. Throws it high and above him and behind him. Should have gone to halftime at 28-20. Totally different feeling coming out of the second half, I think. And they haven't been the same team since then.
And Tulsa got the ball to begin the second, had won the toss and deferred, stormed down the field, 7 plays, 75 yards, and a 38-yard touchdown pass to the tight end, Cole Neff. Pindell looking long, Tyreek Beals. Tight to the sideline, makes the catch. Beals only at 5 grabs all year entering the game, picks up 33.
Wow, the first part of this pass is the placement. Second part is the catch. Got it, foot.
And the snap is off as well. Xavier Scott.
And off to number 10, Xavier Scott.
So the final seconds drip down on the clock, and we have reached the end of the third. Tulsa's best day of the year, pouring 49 points in a driving rain. That touchdown felt like the swing. It's been all Golden Hurricane since. Are you old enough to remember when UConn led this game 10-0? Second and third quarter, Tulsa outscored UConn 49-3, outgained the Huskies in total yards 490 to 231. But UConn has a chance for points. Tonight's Red Zone brought to you by Verizon. Huskies in the red zone. They get touchdowns 72% of the time, but points 72% of the time. It's 121st in the country. And no score tonight. No gain there. It'll be a loss of yards.
That was kind of an option version of the run-pass option. Running to the left, never really put the ball away, intended to pass it, wasn't there, had to bury into the middle of the line. Good defense by the Golden Hurricane.
The numbers for Pindell, it's above his outstanding norm on the ground in terms of volume.
And better on the passing side than he's had yards-wise these last 3 or 4 weeks.
On the roll. Off one back foot. Off target to Mayala. Now, why step back there going into that throw?
I think feeling the pressure, knowing he couldn't really step into it.
Trying to hook up with Mayala. It was right around that same section of the end zone where their attempted union fell short right before halftime. So here's a 4th down try. Having been outscored 49-3 since the close of the first quarter. Crossing patterns galore. Deep look, end zone for Bills. Incomplete. Slip and slide into the base of the stands.
Well, he stepped into that ball just fine, just couldn't get it quite on the spot.
We'll step aside. It's college football on CBS Sports Network, presented by Geico. Filet game summary. What a day it's been on the ground for the Tulsa Golden Hurricane.
It really has, and as you documented earlier, at 49-3, from the start of the second quarter to the end of the third quarter, that's just an acceleration. If it was a race, you'd still be standing at the start line when they came around to lap you.
That actually happens to me a lot. I'm pretty slow. Change of quarterback. Chad President is in. He came back early from an ACL injury this year. Doesn't have a pass attempt on the season. Hands it off and one play. Tulsa with the ground game from T.K. Wilkerson. Ripped down at the 2.5-yard line.
Well, they're in the same part of the field, the same part of the line that was so successful. That's right smack dab up the middle, right behind your offensive line in the middle. This time Dylan Couch is in at center. He gets the big block that flattens one of the Huskies.
Even as the third and fourth units are starting to rotate in, the domination continues.
The theme continues, yes.
Off the fake, President tripped up. Omar Fort takes him out. And that was Wilkerson's first carry of the year, by the way. Now, Randy, one of the leeway factors in the game these days, we're going to see this more and more, particularly in the month of November in coming years, and we'll see it this year. Players getting reps in games like this that never would have in the past for fear of burning a season and the redshirt element.
If they haven't appeared in 4 games yet, yeah, there's a good chance they're going to get some reps until they get to that 4-game level.
And a flag, movement.
False start, offense number 63. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Well, how about Boomer's night, though? He's 9 of 14 for 168 yards and 4 touchdowns.
And here's the Bud Light inside tracks. Tulsa's had trouble in the fourth quarter. 13 straight scoreless fourth quarter possessions that have been outscored 59-6 in fourth quarters in the last 5 games. I don't know if it's relevant tonight.
Not exactly, but that might be one trouble they can erase.
And President doesn't have much there. Went down a little awkwardly.
That was very awkward.
Eddie Hahn brought him down.
So he's got that brace on that left knee, left ankle area.
And he had an ACL injury, came back early from that ACL injury. He had started the first 6 games of last year.
Again, he keeps the ball. He gets smacked pretty good, but that leg's planted when he does get smacked. Can't really see much of anything. Maybe that little turnover on the ankle there at the very end.
Seth Boomer had started today, his 5th straight start. They take a look at President's left ankle. We'll step aside. Tulsa up big on homecoming.
Philosophies. You're a base for a 3 cover.
College football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by CDW, making IT solutions work for you. It's IT orchestration by CDW. CDW, people who get it. By today's military, your child's success tomorrow begins with your support today. And by ACE, the helpful place.
Alan Trimble, a high school coaching legend in Oklahoma. 13 state titles in his 22 Hall of Fame seasons. And he was honored here in Tulsa tonight as a run for Tulsa. TK Wilkerson picks up about 6. And Trimble honored on the field this evening, diagnosed with ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease in 2016. After his diagnosis, he immediately announced his retirement, rescinded that a day later, coached another couple of seasons, but stepped down this last year and was inducted into the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame in August. The Trimble Strong Foundation getting a lot of attention, love, and fundraising from the university over the course of these last few days. And Randy, I know ALS is an ugly illness that has affected those in your world rather directly as well.
Yeah, absolutely. My former teammate and friend Dwight Clark died of it earlier this year. And all these forms of neurodegenerative diseases, we're putting a lot of money against them, and we've got to put more money against them because they are terrible, whether it's ALS or Alzheimer's or CTE or just go down the list.
Yeah, ALS, an ugly and miserable illness. You know, one that also affected Tom Wicks, our assistant director tonight. His grandfather diagnosed and suffered with it in the 80s into the early 90s. And hopefully research can reverse field one day. TK Wilkerson marked just shy here of the first down. There was a lot of maroon in the stands earlier tonight before this downpour of rain of folks associated with Jenks High School. And I also love the embrace that Philip Montgomery, head coach for Tulsa, took with this effort as soon as it was brought up. Obviously very connected to the high school ranks here in Oklahoma. And
yeah, this whole Tulsa community is very involved. High school football is gigantic here in Oklahoma. Well, he won Coach Trimble, he won those 13 state titles in a 20-year period.
Fourth down, doesn't convert. Turnover on downs here as Brent gets stopped short. Before he took over at Jenks, there were 16 state champs in 20 years. At his first 20, 13 titles, 49-13 here tonight. Here are tonight's Geico difference makers. For Tulsa, Corey Taylor, 133 yards on 18 carries. A big night for the young man from right here in Tulsa.
Running buddy, Shamari Brooks, had a heck of a night too.
Kyle Buss for UConn had an 80-yard touchdown grab, has 6 catches on the night for $129. UConn held on 4th down and 1. So Pindell and company back to the field.
Yeah, that 80-yarder that Buss had, he was all by himself for about 70 of it.
A run for Xavier Scott. UConn might consider going a little deeper in its backfield in this spot. These things get a little chippy, but remember that the backup quarterback, Marvin Washington, who does have some time on the field this year, didn't travel. Second time that's happened. Also happened with USF for not taking care of things he needed to during the course of the week. Randy Edsall said, what am I teaching the kid if I allow him to keep doing what he loves and playing football? And said that he thought he had a pretty good week of understanding that. Showed some growth. There the ball to Cameron Hairston. Unable to hold on. Also remember that at running back, their short yardage man, Nate Hopkins, who led the team in rushing touchdowns last year, elected to transfer right as summer camp started. They lost Kion Gillespie to injury. Their third back is Dante Black, a true freshman who hasn't played at all this year.
So things are a little thin for Connecticut. to put it lightly.
So Pindell, the senior, the junior college transfer, remains at quarterback.
But they know it's got to get worse before it can get better.
Pindell steps up. Nice move. Able to dash past a defender. Picks up the first.
David Pindell, the quarterback keeper.
He is elusive. He's had some big numbers in this game tonight. 15-yard run there, but
yeah, he jump cuts and goes sideways as good as a lot of the running backs we see. The 19-yard run.
And 19 carries for 132 yards tonight. Edmiston in pursuit. Makes a miss, hops out of bounds.
He had just enough acceleration to play with Edmiston. Had him zeroed in. He was going to hit him, and suddenly he just accelerated and got away from him.
2 yards on the carry, second down.
UConn playing for pride right now. That's something that the two coaches spoke about some during the course of the week. Randy Edsall talked about trying to find leadership on this team and trying to play for that pride. Scott.
And that's one thing that's tough, too, at times like this, because you are playing a lot of freshmen. You do have a lot of people that are inexperienced and redshirt freshmen and sophomores, a lot of underclassmen. And if you're an upperclassman, if you're a redshirt senior, I mean, this is your last year. I mean, you want something to go positive. You want a reason to show up and do it every day.
1st and 10. Scott again. Tripped up, picks up about 4. Yeah, and Randy Edsall was fairly blunt and received some criticism for his comments from the greater Connecticut media during the week, but I very much get what he was saying. There's a Husky down here, it looks like Scott.
Scott.
He talked about how I could care less about winning or losing right now, and he's not saying that he's not competitive. He's not saying that he doesn't want to win games. He's talking about completely rebuilding the infrastructure of the program, and exactly as you said, the notion of it might get worse before it gets better. It's about the macro long view, and he knows that lumps will happen in pursuit of that.
Well, he has to sell been there, done that.
Right.
Because at Connecticut, he's been there and he's done that. I mean, they were an FCS team. They got into the Big East. You know, that great year they went and they played in the Fiesta Bowl against Oklahoma. I mean, that was a year that people that build teams dream about that.
That was one of the greatest build-ups that college football has seen. Coming up next, our jam-packed day of college football wraps up. Mountain West Mayhem, number 23 Fresno State battles with UNLV only on CBS Sports Network. UConn goes on the ground. Dante Black, who gets his first reps after Xavier Scott went off the field. He'll get a couple of yards there.
Was that last year that UNLV beat Fresno State, who was a heavy favorite?
That it was, and UNLV was down to its backup quarterback. It's the exact same swirl. Yeah, it's been since 1996 the last time that Fresno State won in Vegas against UNLV.
Amari Rogers, their regular quarterback, was hurt.
And Fresno State having a great year. That was the only conference loss for Fresno State last year. Technically the Mountain West title game, not a conference game. A run to the edge, that'll be good for a first. And they were incredibly competitive in that title tilt against Boise as well last year.
Yeah, Jeff Tedford's done an amazing job, so stay tuned and catch that late game. Fresno State and UNLV will be fun because that Fresno State ball club is really good.
And Jeff Tedford, by the way, the alumnus, looking for his 100th win as a head coach tonight. Here's the 9th play of the drive for the Huskies. Play fake. Pindell, end zone, Beals, ball free, incomplete. Tulsa brought the physicality there. Sam Gosh, who's normally a special team star, the former walk-on who got a scholarship last winter, gets a chance to play true defense here.
It was delivered perfectly. Couldn't ask for it. It was just special delivery right into his hands. Should have had it. Should have been a touchdown. That one touchdown at the end of the first half, that was his fault. Wasn't a good throw. That was a very good throw.
2nd and 10. Motion from Black. Play fake. Pindell. And he'll be short of the first by a couple of yards. By the way, it could be a look-ahead game tonight that follows us for Fresno State. You know who they have coming up after UNLV tonight? Boise State, San Diego State back-to-back. It's funny how when the schedules fall like that, weird things can happen to the games in between.
Because these are 18 to 22-year-old kids predominantly, and they look at schedules.
Nice sell there on the fake. Pindell has the first, and he's inside of the 10.
Inside of a minute.
I give a lot of credit to Pindell and this group. This is a heck of a drive here. They're playing pretty hard considering what the margin is in the final minute of the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things you're selling if you're Randy Edsall and these coaches. Besides the pride factor, it's, finish. You got to learn how to finish. It's something we listened to Phil Montgomery talk a lot about. His football team, they found a way to finish the second and third quarters. Didn't really have to finish the game.
Let's revisit your keys. I think you were pretty Sear-like tonight.
Oh, we were fairly close because UConn did get a good number of first downs. That was a check. They only turned them over once. Tulsa did go for the stats, 645 total yards and 49 points qualifies. And I'd rather see Pindell trying to throw the ball than running the ball, as good as he is at running the ball. And he's thrown the ball a lot for him.
12 for 26 tonight, had 6 attempts last game. Into that right flat, Tyler Davis. As soon as he gets the ball, Trayvon Reeves brings him down. 2 timeouts. And one will be exhausted here. That'll freeze the clock. 1 timeout, 50 seconds. It was this exact end zone where it felt like the game swung most dramatically. UConn had a chance to make it a 1-possession game, and Pindell on the roll to his right under some pressure, but had a buffer of space. Flipped an ugly-looking pass to Mayala, who could not handle it. It fell incomplete. Clock hit zeros. Tulsa began the second with a touchdown drive. And remember, still to come, 23rd ranked Fresno State facing UNLV. Rich Waltz, Aaron Murray, Amanda Balionis will have the call. UNLV has won 3 of the last 4 and handed Fresno State its only conference loss last year. That was a stunner in Fresno. The Rebels are home tonight. And also Lance Barrow, producing legend, will be in the truck for that game. We had a chance to work with him last week.
Yep. Well, congratulations to Phil Montgomery and Tulsa. This offensive showcase, over 1,100 yards between these 2 teams tonight.
Pindell, end zone, caught, touchdown. The Huskies get their first TD since the first quarter. Tyler Davis, his 3rd touchdown grab of the year.
That was a nice job showing patience by Pindell as he rolled to the right. Davis comes open late, and he sticks him. That was right in the middle. That was, why hit the hands or the edges of the body when you can drill the ball right into the center of the trunk?
13 plays, 63 yards in a little more than 4.5 minutes. An offense on the field. They'll go for 2 here. It's part of the pride factor. Motion from Buss. Pindell looking to Buss, incomplete. The Huskies are going to suffer their 13th straight loss to an FBS team, but they're trying to finish as well as they can, granted the circumstance.
And Pindell, again, it's going to his right. Gets a little bit more defense that time. Had to be a perfect pass and didn't have the perfect pass to Buss, his favorite receiver on the night.
Philip Montgomery, he's got to be excited about a lot of elements from this game tonight. But he also has to be concerned at quarterback. While Seth Boomer looked very good, Chad President went out with injury on the lone drive that he was on the field for. Luke Skipper battling back issues, unlikely to return all year. If something were to happen to Seth Boomer, his other option tonight was the collegiate debut of true freshman Davis Brin.
That's kind of backing yourself into a corner, but for right now, he's going to stress the positives, and the positive is Boomer grew. Boomer progressed as a quarterback. Did some really good stuff.
His 5th straight start. It'll be his first win. Matter of margin at this point, 44 seconds. Golden Hurricane lets that one go. And you would assume the knee will follow for the Golden Hurricane. Tulsa will have its first win over an FBS team since last year's homecoming game. That was an upset of Houston. Tonight facing a UConn team that statistically has the worst defense in FBS football. The offense came in a big way. They showed brutal physicality up front and a pounding run game. A nice soft touch and feel from the developing freshman quarterback in Seth Boomer.
It was as good a display as I think they've probably seen here at Tulsa in quite some time in the second and third quarter. I mean, the best way to describe it was brutal efficiency.
So the knee from Brin. This game has been played for the most part in a downpour of rain, but it'll end with a sea of smiles for the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. There are UConn coaches already walking across the field ready to shake hands. They're going to be ushered off the field. They got to have one more snap. Randy Edsall just had his hands up saying, hey, this game's over. And now it is. Final seconds can fade away. 49-19. Emphatically, Tulsa snaps that 12-game slide against FBS foes, but for UConn, the number balloons to an unlucky 13.
Yeah, for Philip Montgomery and company, they can enjoy this game for one night. Look forward to their opponent next week, their game next week. And for Randy Edsall and company, it's the nightmare continues.
So Tulsa routes UConn for the Hall of Famer Randy Cross and our entire CBS crew. I'm John Sadak. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Now we send you back to New York City, the Inside College Football Studio. It's Brent Stover and the gang with a breakdown. So long from Tulsa.